Good afternoon. This is the Read Aloud for Family of Potters. Today, I am going with my friend Ella to visit her grandmother, Lorene. She is a Native American potter who lives in a pueblo in New Mexico. Ella and her family are descendants of the Anasazi, who are known for their beautiful pottery. Making pottery is a tradition for Ella's family that is handed down from generation to generation. Grandmother Lorene greets us with warm tortillas when we arrive at her house. After we finish eating, we follow her outside where Ella's uncle is preparing a fire. He is burning some wood in a pit on the ground in order to fire Grandmother Lorene's pottery. Everyone in Ella's family helps make the pottery. When Ella was a baby, her mother carried her on her back to collect the clay. Ella and her family go to nearby canyons and caves to search for clay. They dig it out in chunks and then soak it in water. Next, they lay the clay in slabs to dry in the sun so that it can be ground into powder. They must do this several times to remove the twigs and rocks. Sand and broken pieces of pottery are then added before grinding it down again. When the clay is finally ready, it's mixed with water again and kneaded until smooth. Sometimes people use their feet to work the clay. Grandmother Lorene uses the coil method when she creates her pottery. She shows me how she makes a seed pot. Seed pots are used to hold seeds that will be planted the following year. Ella and I help roll out coils of clay. They look like long snakes when we finish, and I make a small coiled pot of my own. Ella shows me a pot she painted with a yucca brush. A yucca brush is a leaf from a yucca plant that grows like a tall bush. Grandmother Lorene chews on the end of the leaf to make it into a brush and then uses it to draw elaborate designs on pots. Ella and I try it too. I draw a small bird on my pot. Grandmother Lorene makes many of her pots shiny by rubbing them with stone. Some of her pots are decorated with colored rocks that is ground down and mixed with spinach juice called guaco. Outside, Ella's uncle is getting ready to fire the pots. All the wood has burned and he smooths out the ashes. Ella and her mother show me how to put a layer of fuel on top of the ashes. Then we add some pieces of broken pottery. Grandmother Lorene carefully positions her pots between them. Another layer of fuel and pottery pieces is placed on top, and it looks like a dome. We stick newspapers and twigs into the base, and Ella's uncle lights the fire. The flames shoot up into the sky. Ella says sometimes people can see the fire from miles away. We stand outside and watch the fire to make sure it is burning right. By paying attention to the temperature, Grandmother Lorene is able to predict what color the pots will be when they're done. Ella says that even after the fire has gone out, we must still wait for the pots to cool. The fire is still burning when it's time for me to go home. Grandmother Lorene gives me one of her seed pots before I leave. She says next time I visit, I can see the pots that I helped fire. I can't wait to bring home my own coil pot too. Thank you for listening.